Dave Campbell's Texas Football here, recruiting recap for the 7-on-7 state tournament. Here with our recruiting coordinator, Greg Powers, recruiting coordinator, editor, I don't know, your title changes.
Director of recruiting, like just whatever is like in the moment, right?
Yeah. And of course, our newest college writer here, Carter Yates as well. Let's start off with the big news, basically. Yeah. Drelon Miller, 5-star player. Greg, what was kind of the tipping point for you today, seeing him at 7-on-7?
Well, I mean, I'm happy to announce that Drelon Miller's a Dave Campbell's Texas Football 5-star. We're the first site to name him a 5-star. He's been our number 3 player wire to wire. And it was really just about giving some more context to what we saw last season. As a matter of fact, I think last year he might have been, if not the most dominant player in Texas high school football, one of the top 2 or 3 most dominant players. So what he's done on the field has been reciprocated in the camp setting. It's been done on the field with other all-star players on it. And he's deservedly picked up his 5-star status on Dave Campbell's Texas Football. And he's also got some of the top colleges in the country chasing him. He's the most offered guy in Texas high school football right now. And he's having his announcement June 29th. He's deciding between schools like Texas A&M, LSU, USC, and Miami. And good news is for Dave Campbell's fans, we're going to be broadcasting that commitment as well right here at Dave Campbell's Texan Live. So stay tuned for that. I'm just really pumped because he's a player that deserves it. Great Texas high school football player. If you haven't bought your Dave Campbell's Texas Football magazine yet, I'm going to give you like a little sneak peek. He's the high school version of Deebo Samuel.
Yes. No, 100%. Seeing him out there, I kind of agree with that. Carter, what did Miller kind of show you today? How did he kind of stand out to you?
So this was the first time I got to see Drelon Miller in person, and I'll tell you what the tipping point for the 5-star rating was for me. We were sitting in that golf cart, and the quarterback basically threw a 45-yard bomb, and it was held for 4 seconds, so this didn't count, but he, mossed 2 guys in the end zone that were draped all over him, and that was like, okay, this is a man amongst boys right here, and this is a guy that can play at the next level. That was kind of the moment for me where I'm like, okay, give this guy his 5th star, Greg. Come on now.
Yeah. I think I remember that play exactly. And the Deebo Samuel comparison really does hit for me. He can do kind of anything. He can kind of play any position he really needs to, especially you can put him in the backfield if you want to, right. Things like that. So, but getting off of Drelon Miller now, because we'll be talking about him a ton, especially after his commitment leading into the fall with what Silsbee does. Let's talk a little bit about some of the other guys that you kind of saw today. Was there anyone who maybe you hadn't seen enough of that you were really hoping to get an eye on?
Well, the player who I had circled that I wanted to see the most today was Jasper's Kiotti Armstrong. He's a giant tight end in the class of 2025. We started picking up offers from a lot of schools, Texas, Texas A&M, Oklahoma. Next year's crop of tight ends is really good. You got Jack Van Dorselaer at South Oak Cliff. You know, you got Terrell's got a tremendous tight end. The list goes on. There's like 5 like elite tight ends. He was the only one who I hadn't seen in person. So like he was like must-see TV for me or must-see at the 7-on-7 today. And he was really, really good. Like probably the most, if not the most physically impressive, one of the most physically imposing, guys out there because his height is a true mismatch for Jasper. And Jasper's team is loaded. You got
look really good.
Yeah, you got Britton Simmons, you got Anthony Smith, and you got Kiotti Armstrong. All these guys are like elite college players at the next level. So if you're a fan of Texas high school football, Jasper's like, if you're in that area, circle a game on their schedule and go watch them. It's going to be fun. Yeah.
Carter, same question to you, but also I do want you to talk a little bit about one of the newer quarterbacks we saw today in Jet Surratt afterward. But first, who's somebody who you kind of hadn't seen enough of or hadn't seen at all that you were really looking forward to see?
Yeah, I was really looking forward to seeing Nate Palmer today, the Decatur running back. And what's really interesting is TCU recruiting's been on fire lately. They picked up like 4 commits in the last, 10 days or something like that. And 2 of those guys, Nate Palmer and Jeremy Payne, another running back, 2 really stud running backs in the class of 2024. This is my first time seeing Nate Palmer today, and he just looked really smooth out there. That's kind of the word that comes to mind. I know running backs sometimes in 7-on-7, you don't know how much of an impact they'll have, but he looked really good as a dual threat guy. He caught 2 touchdown passes that I saw today, and not even just like body catching, like he was high pointing the football and running streaks down the field. He was really good. Jet Surratt, I was super interested to see him for Carthage today, taking over now as a sophomore. And I'll tell you what, he did not carry himself like an incoming sophomore. Like he looked like a guy who was very comfortable in that offense. I talked to him and he's been in the system since, he was about this tall. So he's been preparing for this moment basically all his life. And he seemed to have a lot of really good chemistry out there with his receivers. Actually, I was interviewing him, and two of his receivers, while I'm talking to him, crawl through and untie his shoes as he's interviewing. So that was kind of funny to see. They were having a good time out there today. Carthage was.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. Two guys from me that I saw, hadn't seen him since the state championship, was Diontay Ramon and Chandlin Myers for Hawley. Obviously, when you play kind of the level they do, they stand out. Obviously, they had a couple on defense. I was very curious to see how they would kind of act as cover corners. The team just did not throw to them at all.
Right.
Like Diontay Ramon had one pass breakup and then never got thrown out again. Another one I do want to hint on that I think we'll see a lot more of, and I'm excited to see him tomorrow, is the guy opposite of Drelon Miller, Ashton Cartwright. He's complete opposite, a little bit wiry, kind of a speedster, but his only offer I think right now, at least according to his profile, is Prairie View. I think he's somebody who, especially going into this fall, as more people start to pay attention, cover kind of bracket coverage, Drelon Miller, he's going to be somebody who's going to benefit a ton from that. So I think his skill set, he's going to be somebody who's going to be bursting onto a lot of people's radars as the fall kind of rolls along.
To kind of like double down on the Cartwright thing, I was speaking with Drelon Miller a little bit too. And one of the cool things about like going to scout a guy, like a 5-star guy like Drelon Miller, is to see his teammates, right? And Cartwright is a guy who I feel like, as of all the players who I didn't know that much about today, is a guy that could really, you know, he's going to get a DCTF profile and that kind of stuff. So he's starting to put his name on the radar. And I think in-state schools like Prairie View, Lamar, UIW, these guys should all be looking at him because he is a freakishly athletic guy on that team that probably doesn't get his just due because a lot of people are buzzing about Drelon Miller. And this gave us the opportunity to shine the spotlight on him a lot. And I'm glad that you mentioned his name.
Yeah. And so looking ahead to tomorrow, you know, who are you interested in seeing tomorrow? I know I have Braden Henry from Abilene. He's a started as a freshman, similar to Jet Surratt, kind of coming into the program, very good program as a starting quarterback this fall. And so I'm very interested to see how he looks, how he carries himself through that Division I pool. Obviously, we'll get to see Hitchcock kind of make their way through the D2 bracket, D2, I think. Yeah, D2 bracket. And then Hawley as well to the D3 bracket. But who are some of the guys that you're hoping to see tomorrow?
Well, I think Micah Hudson is a guy that you have to, if you're like a college football recruiting fan, you have to tune in to see Micah Hudson at Lake Belton. He's a receiver who I kind of put in the mold of a Garrett Wilson and Jackson Smith and Jig, but he's some sort of combination of those guys. I mean, he's not exactly like either one of them. He's his own unique type of player, but he brings those type of skill sets to the table. So he's like an elite wide receiver that you must check out and you must see. I'm personally really excited to see Shadow Creek. They're loaded with top level talent. There are a lot of guys on that team who haven't had the opportunity to like evaluate yet. As a matter of fact, 2025 corner Kobe Sellers transferred from a private school to play at Shadow Creek, so he's like one that I have circled to definitely check out. And if he's here, I haven't confirmed if he's here yet, but if he's here, 2027 wide receiver Booby Feaster, Ethan Feaster at DeSoto High School, a 6'1", 175-pounder. Last time I checked, he had 23 scholarship offers. This may be the most talked about recruit that I've ever covered in my 20 years of covering football recruiting in Texas. He may be the most covered guy because he has so many offers and he's just now heading into the 9th grade. And I think that he could be a factor on a potential state championship team.
Carter, same question to you.
I think the North Crowley squad is one I'm really looking forward to. I mean, North Crowley, under their new head coach, have really had a resurgence as a program. They got all new facilities now, and Goon City on Twitter, you see them all getting recruited now. I mean, Julian Knox is a guy I'm very interested to see. He is also a TCU commit, and he played very sparingly, honestly, as a junior. He's really just camped very well, ran in the 4.4s, but they've got a quarterback who's very good. And I think they just have a bunch of athletes on their team. I'm really looking forward to see them tomorrow.
So there you go. We'll be back tomorrow with another recap as well. And keep an eye on TexasFootball.com this whole week. Carter will have something on Jet Surratt, Aaron Hampton as well. Powers will have some stuff up on the players he's talked to. I will have some stuff up as well. So keep it locked, TexasFootball.com, and we'll see you guys again tomorrow.